Hello everyone, my name is Saba. I'm here from Smart Dental Compliance and Training. I will be talking about how to pass your CQC inspection, and we're also going to be looking at how to conduct a mock CQC inspection at your practices. We've had a large number of people register on today's webinar. We've had nearly 142 people. So we have had a bit of technical issues. So what we're going to do now is we've got 42 people. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes, okay, we've got Debbie. Yes, we can hear you. We've got Tony. Thank you, guys. I just wanted to make sure before I start going deep into my PowerPoint that you can all hear me. Okay, so without any further delay, we're going to start. I'm just going to share my screen with you guys now. Okay, so hopefully you guys can all see my screen. The first screen is 1, 2, 3 audio check. To prepare that you guys have the best experience, please make sure you guys check your audio videos before you start. We'll keep the videos off just because we've got a lot of people on the call, so I don't want any disruptions in terms of the audio levels. Use headphones during the discussion if possible. So if you guys have got headphones, you could use that. If you have any questions, guys, please put it in the chat box. And we've got our moderator, Victoria. She will try to answer all the questions as quickly as possible. Okay, so without any delay, we're just going to get in how to pass a CQC inspection. So a lot of the times, this is one of the most commonly asked questions that we get from a lot of our clients, and when we go out to carry mock inspections, or when we go out to carry out compliance visits in dental practices as well, they all ask us, how do we carry out a mock inspection, or how do we prepare our practice for a CQC inspection? Who is the CQC? CQC are the Independent Regulatory of Health and Adult Social Care Act in England. They make sure health and social care services provide people with safe, effective, compassionate, high quality care, and we encourage care services to improve. They monitor, inspect, and regulate services. Then they publish what they find out, including your performance ratings, to help people choose care. Where they find poor care, they will use our powers to take, so they will use their powers to take actions. So the type of CQC. So as we mentioned, one of the main role of the CQC is to come out and inspect dental practices. When they come out to inspect dental practices, there's a lot of things that they would look for. And during today's webinar, I would go through the main things that the CQC would be looking at. In terms of the CQC inspections, they are an important part of regulating health and social care providers in England. While there's data, evidence, information, and feedback play a large part of the CQC roles, physical inspections are still very, very heavily conducted at every single dental practice, and they are key for observing care, both general speaking and against people's record, to ensure individuals' needs are being met. So let's have a look at the type of inspections that the CQC come out to carry out. Number one, we've got the comprehensive inspection, and number two, we've got the focused inspection. With the comprehensive inspection, as the name suggests, the comprehensive inspection is to take you through and to look at all areas of your service. That means the whole of the dental practice, to ensure the care that you are providing is safe, caring, effective, responding to people's need, and is well led as well. When it comes to the comprehensive inspection, there's nothing set in stone with regards to the frequency of the inspections that they can carry out, whether or not you have been given a notice, or how big the CQC inspection team will be. These are largely dependent on the type of inspection or the type of providers you are running. So for example, if it's an orthodontic practice, and if it's a practice that offers sedation or domiciliary care, it all depends on what type of care service you are offering. The second type of inspection that you can get is the focus inspection. As implied by the name, focus inspection takes a look at less of your services. So they wouldn't go very, very deep. They tend to focus on the areas where they feel that they need to focus on. In terms of the focus inspection, there's two reasons why the CQC will come out and carry out a focus inspection. Number one, to look at specific concerns. So for example, if there's a member of staff who have done a whistleblowing, or if there's a patient that you had and they raised a big complaint and it went all the way further to the GDC and the CQC, this is one of the reasons why you are likely to get a focus inspection at your practice. to follow up on a change in the provider circumstances as well. So if you are acquiring new practices, or if you are merging, or if there's a large change of your registered manager, so if you're constantly changing registered managers as well, that's an alarm bell to the CQC, and they will come out and do like a focus inspection in terms of what is happening in that care service. So these are the two types of inspections you're likely to get. With the comprehensive inspection, you will usually get a 2 weeks notice from the CQC. So they will give you a 2 weeks notice before they come out. With the focus inspection, it's usually 24 hours. So within 24 hours, they will send you an email saying, we're going to be coming out tomorrow to the practice to carry out focus inspections. So this is why it's very, very important that we are always keeping up to date with our compliance paperwork, because there's nothing set in stone that you might get a comprehensive inspection or you might get focus inspection, especially now with such a high staff turnover, with so many patient complaints that we're constantly having. A lot of the practices are having very in-depth focus inspection. So this is why it's important to keep up to date with all your compliance paperwork. Now, inspection continue. How long does a usual inspection take? A lot of people ask us this. It basically depends on your size of location. If you've got a 2 surgery practice running, it will be a lot less than if you've got a 12 surgery practice, because there would be a lot more for them to view. So it depends on the size. It also depends on the kind of inspection as well. Comprehensive inspection usually takes a whole day. So they generally come in at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock and they are there for the whole day. Whereas the focus inspection might be less in terms of their timing, so it might be about 3 to 4 hours. Sometimes the inspections are not completely finished. I have been in CQC inspection where they've come in, they've started the inspection, and the inspection have overrun to the next day as well, because they've got lots of areas that they want to go through. So it might happen as well that they might come in and they might say, look, we do need to come in another day, or we do need to come in the next day to finish the inspection as well. So it can last for 2 days. In terms of the frequency of inspection, again, some practices, they give us a call and say, look, I haven't had an inspection. I think I'm going to get an inspection anytime soon. So in terms of the frequency, if your last inspection report wasn't great, you're more likely to get an inspection quicker. So I would say between 6 to 8 months. Whereas if your last inspection report, they go on the inspection report, not on the date of their visit. So for example, if they came out on 5th of September, but your report was released on the 15th of September, they will take the 15th of December to carry out another inspection or to plan another inspection, not the 5th of September. Okay, so if you're also a new practice or you recently opened, you most probably had your interview or you most probably had your inspection on the Zoom or the Google Meet platform, then again, they are likely to come out between the 6 and the 12 months to carry out a comprehensive inspection of the practice to see if everything has been put in place. So this is the frequency and how long the inspection takes. Moving on, so what do the CQC inspect? Now, as you guys might have heard, there is a new assessment framework which is slowly being introduced by the CQC. I'm not going to dwell into the new framework too much because we've got another webinar in November which will intensively go through the whole new CQC assessment frameworks. How is that going to affect your practice? What do you need to be aware of? What do you need to put in place? So I'm going to leave that for the different webinar in November. This webinar is predominantly concentrating on the type of inspections you can have and how to prepare yourself for an inspection. So when this inspector is coming out, one of the things that they do go through is your key lines of inquiry. So it's very important that you have knowledge of your key lines of inquiries. A lot of the time where managers tend to fail is when the inspector asks you questions which is related to a key line of inquiry, because you're already nervous and you've got the palpitation, your blood pressure's gone high, you're having an inspection, you're super nervous, you tend to forget all the key terminologies. So one of the things I would highly recommend is to ensure that you're aware of the key terminologies. So for example, are you safe? Some of the things that they would monitor in that is, do you protect service users from abuse or any form of avoidable harm? So some of the things they will look at is your safeguarding policy, your safeguarding protocol, if everybody has done their safeguarding training, if you guys have got a safeguarding lead within the practice and they have completed a level 3 training, who is your local safeguarding authority? And these are the type of questions they will be asking you and your staff members. Please do not forget, the inspections are not solely for the registered manager. The team plays a very, very big part of CQC inspections as well, because the inspector do tend to ask team members, especially trainee nurses or trainee receptionists or trainee staff members. Okay. The next question is, are you effective? So does the care, treatment and support you provide you from achieving good outcomes, help maintain a good quality of life, and is this based on best possible evidence? So this is about effective. Then we've got caring. Do your employee treat your service users with compassion, kindness, dignity, and respect? Are you responsive to people's needs? And is there a well-led processes in place? So well-led is one of the biggest key lines of inquiry that the CQC tend to pick on. And this is where a lot of the CQC, a lot of the practices tend to fail on inspection as well, is the well-led key line of inquiry. So what does the well-led key line of inquiry cover? One of the things that it covers is about your leadership and management. As a registered manager, you need to have certain qualifications, you need to have certain skills and knowledge in order to be a registered manager or the nominated individual. These could be management skills, these could be communication skills. Any type of CPD you do online in regards to management or clinical knowledge or non-clinical knowledge, or let's say communication skills, this is very important, okay? So if you are a manager who is constantly investing in your CPDs, in the courses, in the skills, in the knowledge, in your development, please make sure you have all your certificates in your personal profile, and you would get brownie points for that, because that makes the inspectors, that gives them the reassurance that you have the correct knowledge and understanding to undergo your course. You might have also noticed when you are applying for the initial CQC registration as well, when you complete those registration forms, one of the form is called the new registered manager form. And within the new registered manager form, there's a section that tells you to outline exactly what skills, what knowledge, and what qualification the registered manager has done in order to be the registered manager and in order to manage that practice on a day-to-day basis. Okay. So leadership skills are very important. The next one is good governance. What does good governance mean? Good governance means having accurate audits that you are carrying out, having risk assessments, internal and external ones, making sure all your policies are up to date, making sure your policies are tailored to your practice. So recently I was in conversation with one of the CQC inspectors at a visit, and one of the things that they really emphasized on, they said, wow, your policies are great, they're 15 pages long, but there's nowhere in the policy that reflects that this policy is tailored to your practice. So one of the things that is very important is making sure your policies are tailored to your practice. So one thing that they suggested is in each policy having a practice specific protocol box. So obviously we are really busy with our day-to-day life, and a lot of the managers, they wouldn't be sitting down writing the policies. However, one thing that you need to be aware of is if you are having policies from any compliance systems, especially like, you know, the AIOM compliance software, there is a practice protocol box, and you are taking the time to fill out that practice protocol box. We get a lot of practice managers call us saying, Saba, can you help customize all our policy, put the protocols in and upload them onto our system? That's well and good asking us for help. We can help you in order to create your protocols, but we highly recommend that being a registered manager, you would have a lot more knowledge about your practice, because we are not within your practice, or we're not dealing with the day-to-day regulatory activities within your practice. We would highly recommend that you do take some time out and sit and write your practice protocol practice protocols within the practice protocol boxes. Okay, so that's the least you guys can do in order to make sure the policies are customized according to your practice details. Okay, I'm not sitting here, I'm not going to tell you to write all your policies yourself, because I know that's a major task and no manager would have time to do that. But one thing I would definitely highlight and emphasize is on writing those practice specific protocols. Okay, so these are some of the things that are covered as part of the well-led key lines of inquiries. So These are the 5 key lines of inquiries, and these are some of the evidence that the CQC inspectors would look at. Number 1, safe. Is there a learning culture? What do we mean by learning culture? Do all staff members have access to CPD courses or training or development? So there's lots of CPD courses which are based on mandatory or recommended, and they're based on your roles. So if you're a dental nurse, you need to carry out certain CPD courses in your 5-year cycle. Whereas if you're a dentist, you will carry out certain. But what they want to see is you can provide them evidence that your staff are keeping up to date with their CPD courses. Now, some of these mandatory CPD courses are cross-infection control for dental nurses, medical emergency and basic life support, that's for all the team within the dental practice, safeguarding level 1 and 2, again, that's for the whole team within the dental practice, radiography, that's mainly for the dentist, dental hygienist, therapist, nurses, it's not for the receptionist. Another big one at the moment is interacting with autistic patients, okay? So this is a recent regulation that came out. There's a myth buster all about it on the CQC website that says that staff members need to be trained on how they are communicating with autistic or learning difficulty patients. So one of the things that you are required to do is complete that training. Again, depending on what CPD platform you are using within the AIOM system, we've got a CPD platform and we have got that course on there that all your staff members can log on and do that. So learning culture is very important. When it comes to CQC inspection, one of the main things you need to understand is evidencing everything, okay? So whether you have spent, let's say, 15 minutes in a team meeting talking about a policy or talking about a medical emergency scenario or talking about a safeguarding issue, you need to make sure you are evidencing that down, okay? Because if they come out for an inspection and there's an area they find out that you lack in, so if they say actually your safe standards are not up to date or your safeguarding, we don't have enough confidence that your team understands what the safeguarding culture is or how to report a safeguarding issue, you can go back to them and you can show them, here's a team meeting where we practice safeguarding scenarios 3 times a year. You will get a brownie point for that. So make sure that everything you do, you are collecting evidence for it. Safe systems, pathways, and transitions. So you are providing a safe care. So that's making sure you've got adequate amount of PPE, making sure you are doing your regular audits to check for safety as well, making sure you are doing your risk assessments such as fire risk assessment, Legionella, health and safety, disability. Safeguarding, which I've already touched upon, involving people to manage risks. So risk management is another very important one. Having safe environments. A lot of the time when I go out to carry out CQC inspections, the practice would have all the documents in place. They've got all the audits, they've got risk assessment, everything, all the paperwork is in place. But when I inspect the building, there's rips on the chair, there is water leaks sometimes, you know, a lot of things are old, they haven't been replaced, there's so much dust everywhere. Every time I go into the decontamination room, I'll just put my hand on the autoclave, well, not when it's working, not when it's hot, but I will just do like a little dust test and there's dust everywhere. Trust me, if you are an NHS practice, you're likely to have an NHS inspection, and this is one of the things that I've seen the inspectors do. They literally put their hand everywhere and check for dust, and they will say, look, your practice does need professional cleaning. So that's one of the things that's very important, to make sure that you have it down, make sure that your practice is nice and clean, okay? In the surgeries, sometimes you would get locum nurses and they tend to clutter everything everywhere. They will, when there's a treatment going on, they empty out all the drawers and they will put everything on the surface that they can think of, okay? Again, that's a lot of clutter. So make sure your surgeries are decluttered as well before the inspection and they're all nice and clean. Infection prevention and control, that's your cross-infection audit that you need to carry out, making sure you have surgery checklist, your decontamination checklist are really important as well, and your cross-infection CPDs as well. Medication optimization, so this is all about your antibiotics. So if you are dispensing antibiotics, you need to make sure you've got antibiotic logs. If you are using the prescription pads, you need to make sure that there's records of the prescription pad log as well. Then we move on to effective, so assessing the needs of every patient. So making sure you're getting the consent forms are signed before the treatment takes place. You've got treatment plan forms as well. delivering evidence-based care and treatment, how staff, team, and services work together. So that's all about working with the reception team, working with like referral centers in order to make sure that you're working together as a team in order to provide safe care. Supporting people to live healthier life, monitoring and improving outcomes, consent to care and treatments. In responsive, we've got person-centered care. So this covers all your treatments plan, which is tailored to the person's need. One thing I do find out when I carry out inspection is treatment plans are not given consistently, or they're given sometimes, or one of the biggest thing I find out is treatment plans are not signed by the patient. So it's really important that treatment plans are signed by the patients as well. Care provision, providing information, listening to and involving people. So when it comes to involving people, this is all about your feedback. So making sure you are getting consistent feedback as well from your patients. So during the COVID, a lot of the people weren't giving out the family and friends feedback forms, or they wasn't giving the physical feedback forms, and they were directing all the patients to go onto Google and give Google reviews. That's absolutely fine. If they are giving Google reviews, that's fine, but you can start getting patient feedback as well through paper format if you wanted to, or a digital format. Okay, the more feedback you guys collate, the more better your inspection, and the more goodie points or golden stars you're going to get from the CQC inspector. Then we've got caring, so treating people as individual, independence, choice and control, responding to people's immediate needs, workforce well-being. Then we've got, last but not least, we've got well-led, so which I already touched upon in my last slide. So this is about workforce equality, diversity, inclusion, governance, management, sustainability, partnership and communities, learning and improvement in innovation, and environment sustainability as well. So these are all the key lines of inquiry, and these are some of the evidence that the CQC inspector is going to be looking at. This next slide talks about how the CQC decides on rating. So they would look at the key lines of inquiry. If they believe that you've provided enough evidence, can the provider demonstrate the service is outstanding? So you will get outstanding or good. Now, unlike most type of services, the CQC doesn't give rating to dentists at the moment. However, we have heard that within the new assessment frameworks, that dental practices might fall under that category where they will get the ratings as well. Okay. So that's how the CQC decides on rating. The next one is, the next slide is preparing for inspection. So if you had a call from the CQC inspector and you are preparing for inspection, what are some of the things that you need to do? Using the key lines of inquiry as a guideline is very important. CQC will gather evidence on your service by speaking to your employees. So one of the things they will do on the day, if you've got a large team or if you have got team members on there, they will speak to the team, listening to what people who use the service say as well. So as I mentioned, feedback is very important. They will ask your patients for feedback. They will ask you like for maybe comment cards or any complaints. Complaints is another one. I have been to a few practices where the practice manager has said, we haven't had any complaints in the last 5 years. That's well and good if you haven't had any complaint, but they would try to understand even before the 5 years, was there any complaints that you had? Is there any, even if you haven't had an efficient complaint, is there any dissatisfaction? So we'll highly recommend that if you haven't had any complaint, but you've had few dissatisfaction. What I mean by dissatisfaction is you've had a patient come in, they're sitting in the waiting room and they've said, well, I really don't like what you guys are playing on your TV, or I'm not happy with the state of the toilets, they're really dirty. Even if you've had these minor dissatisfaction, please put them down, because then they are not going to investigate heavily on the complaints, and they would look at the dissatisfaction, because in order to resolve a dissatisfaction, it happens very quickly, okay? And you can resolve that really, really quickly. But when it comes to complaints, when they start digging down into the complaints, then it can be a very long process. Using various inspection methods like observing care, looking at individual care pathways, reviewing your records, looking into your policies and procedures, and inspecting the area where people are cared for, okay? So that's some of the ways. Now, carrying out a mock inspection. So our today's seminar is all about how to carry out a mock inspection. There's different ways people carry out a mock inspection. One of the ways is they will tend to go on Google, type in mock inspection, dental, audit or template, download that and start carrying out themselves. Okay, that's one way. The second way is they will reach out to compliance companies and they will ask, can somebody come and carry out a mock inspection and tell us where we're going wrong and where we're going right? Or number three is you might use like a digital compliance tool, such as the AIOM software, in order to carry out a mock inspection. All three ways are absolutely correct. Okay, so these are the three ways you can carry them out. Whichever way you carry out is absolutely fine. But one of the things that you need to understand is you have enough knowledge and understanding in order to carry out that mock inspection. And one of the things in that mock inspection will be is you need to make sure that what the latest CQC requirements are. So every time you have an inspection, there's always something new that the CQC tend to concentrate on. So one thing I will say is if you're new to a dental practice, or even if you started dental practice and they had a CQC inspection 3 years ago, please go back and read that report for your practice. Your old CQC reports for your practice, please read the full report. Those reports are readily available on the CQC website. Okay, so if you type in the name of your dental practice, it will tell you when the last inspection was and what the report was. The reason why I'm telling you to read the report is that there might be some things, and there's always is things in there that the CQC have put down as recommendation. They don't always give you like a 5-star report where there's no recommendation. There will be minor recommendations. And before they come out to inspect your practice, they do read your previous reports. Okay, and they will make notes and bullet points of what's written in your previous reports, and they will pick that up, or they will check that first thing when they get into the practice. So make sure you're familiar with your previous report, and you can say, well, in our previous report, when we had an inspection, these were some of the things that was outlined by the CQC inspectors, and this is what we've done in order to improve. It's a bit of a gap analysis exercise, so where you are showing them what went wrong initially and what you've done in order to improve. Okay, so that's another golden tip that you guys can follow. So that's all about mock inspection. Now what I'm going to do is demonstrate or show you how you can carry out a mock inspection using our current AIOM software. So with the AIOM software, we've been up and running for 5.5 to 6 years, and a lot of you who are on the call today are our members. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to demonstrate. This is a new feature we've worked on, is our mock inspection tool, and we've made it very intensive. We've added a whole lot of questions on there, and we're constantly improving it because we sit on all CQC inspection for our clients. So this is where we have all up-to-date information of what the CQC are inspecting on a regular basis. And what we do is we come back and we add that onto our mock inspection tool. So can everyone see my screen? Yeah, okay, perfect. So if you can see my screen, when you log in, if you log in as a practice manager, this is the main dashboard that you will see. On your left-hand side, you've got an option that says report, and then you've got another option that says mock inspection. And guys, this is very, very important. You can use this tool in order to carry out regular inspections at your practice. So when you go to mock inspection, the top part is already pre-filled for you. So you've got the name of the practice, the name of the practice manager, name of the compliance champion. So again, you know, you can put the name of the practice or whoever is carrying out the mock inspection, the date that the audit is conducted, that would automatically come in, the location, the contact number, the email address, all that is pre-filled. And then what you will do is go through each and every single question that are on here. So for example, my first question says, have you carried out a cross-infection audit in the last 6 months? If you say yes, you can attach the actual cross-infection audit. Now, a lot of our members, some of them use the digital format on their activity calendar to carry out the audits. Some of them download templates from our compliance dashboard, fill them up and put it all in a folder. So let me tell you something. In the new CQC assessment framework, they are going all digital. So if you are still using paper folders, or if you've got lots of paper folders, or if you've got logbooks, I will highly recommend, please start weaning your team off paper and get them to upload things digitally. Because you will be provided in the new assessment framework, every single practice would have a portal login. Within the portal login, you would need to upload your evidence. Okay, so if you've got it all saved up in a digital format, you're simply going to download it and upload that evidence. Whereas if you are using paper folders, or if your team or your staff member use paper, it's going to be very difficult because you'll have to scan every single piece of individual paper and upload it on the system, and it's going to be very time consuming. So in order to prepare your practices for the new assessment framework that CQC are working on right now, I will highly recommend that you start doing things digitally. So as we looked at, our first question was, do you have a cross-infection audit in the last 6 months? If you say yes, you can attach the audit. If you haven't carried it out in the last 6 months, and if you've carried it out maybe in the last 8 months or 9 months, you can press no, okay? And you can put a comment here, was last carried out 7 months ago or 8 months ago. Okay, what the mock inspection tool does is it helps you to create your action plans. Where it says type comments is actually your action plans. Okay, so what you would do is work through this tool. So we've got all the questions on here, and these questions are based on real life inspection, guys. These are not the question we've copied and pasted from the internet or anything like that. We have sat on nearly 48 real CQC inspections, and we have created these questions for you guys so you can go through them in order to make sure that your practice is fully compliant. So we've got all the audits on here. Then we've got the next category, and what you can do, again, I know as managers, you tend to get really, really busy. So you might start a mock inspection and you might not finish it. What you can also do is say, right, every Friday, I'm going to work on one area of this mock inspection. So the first area is practice audits. So you can say on Friday morning, 1 hour, I'm just going to concentrate on the audits element. You could do the audits and save it. Okay, so this mock inspection tool can be saved, and it could be an ongoing document that you work on over a period of time. It's always best to do little, but make sure it's accurate, rather than saying, you know what, I'm going to do whole of this mock inspection and see what the results are. Okay, so each category has all the questions that you need to comply by in order to pass the CQC inspection. So we've got risk assessments here, we've got logs over here as well, we've got practice equipment. I'm not going to go through all the questions just because we've got so much to get through, and you know, it's already 1:45 and we started a bit late as well due to technical issues. But again, we're always here to help you, so if you have any questions, you can ask us after the call as well. So then we've got the practice equipment category, which talks about all your practice equipment, what you need to have in place. Do you carry out regular tests on your fire alarm system? If you say yes, you can upload all the evidence, or if you say no, you need to put a comment in there why you're not carrying out regular fire alarm testings as well. Then we've got policies. So it talks about all the policies that the CQC inspectors would want to see, like, do you have up-to-date medical emergency policy and protocol? Do you have a wrong site removal policy? Do you have an up-to-date business continuity plan? Okay, so everything could be attached on this. Then we've got about staff management on here as well. We've got radiation documentation, practice information. We've also got, as we scroll down, we've also got information about the practice. So is the practice registered for the MHRA alerts? Is there evidence of recent complaints? Is there a practice safeguarding lead? Do you know who your local safeguarding authority is another one that they ask. Where NHS prescriptions are dispensed, is there a prescription log which is present? Are prescription pads stored safely within the lockable cupboard? Are sterilized or dental instruments pouched and dated according to the HTM 0105? So these are all the questions that you guys can work through when you're carrying out these mock inspection. Once you've carried out the mock inspection, you will press next, and you can view the actual mock inspection on here as well. So for example, I'm going to try to save my mock inspection without carrying it out. So I'm going to try to submit it and see if it allows me to submit. It might not allow me to submit because I haven't carried it out, all of it, or it might do. There we go. So here it is. My overall compliance health score is 0. So over here, you can see these are all the key lines of inquiries. So because I haven't answered any of these questions, it actually shows me my question, what I've answered, the comments, and any action plans on there. So the mock inspection will show you your overall compliance score. It will also show you how compliant you are with each key lines of inquiries. Again, this is an awesome tool. If you have a real CQC inspection, I will highly recommend that you show the CQC inspector that you're carrying out these inspections on a monthly or even on an annual basis, and you will get the golden stars or brownie points with them as well, because they can see that you are doing a lot in order to keep up to date with all the changing compliance guidelines and regulations as well. And this will make their task a lot more easier, because these are exactly the same questions that they're going to go through. So even if you have the report, and this report is downloadable or printable, we've got printer friendly button. If you click on that, you can download the report, or you can print the report as well. You can take it to your team meetings and share it with them, saying, guys, I just done a mock inspection this month, and this is where we are. We're doing really well on effective and well led, but we're not doing really well on safe or responsive. Okay, so this is something that you can share on your team meetings with your team members as well. Another thing we have got on the mock inspection is, let's say you've carried out the full mock inspection. Now there's lots of action plans. So what we've additionally done is we have created an action plan tab. And in our action plan tab, so if I go to mock inspection, action plan tab, I can create actions and I can delegate it to my team members. So for example, if I find that actually there is no safeguarding flowchart, so safeguarding flowchart is missing from the reception area, okay? You can create an action plan. You can assign it to a staff member. So I'm going to assign it to Hina, and I want her to complete this by next Wednesday, okay? So I'm going to write here, print safeguarding flowchart for reception area, okay? And once you press save, now Hina would get a notification when she logs into the AIOM software. It will show that there's a action plan delegated to her, and she will log on to the software. She would look at that. She can very quickly go to the compliance templates. Within the compliance templates, if I type in safeguarding flowchart, the flowchart will come up. So here's my safeguarding. If I go under practice signages, I can download the safeguarding flowchart, print it out, stick it to the reception area, and I'm all done. Okay. And then Hina can go back and say, I've actioned that action. Now, when she's actioned the action, the practice manager would get a notification saying that this action has already been completed. So then she can check, okay, well done, you've completed that. So this is how the mock inspection action plan works. It's very easy, very user-friendly, and you don't have to take all the burden on yourself to put everything in place. What you will do is carry out that mock inspection, create action plans for your team, delegate it to them, and then they can get on and complete all those actions. And this is what I do as well as a consultant. When I go out to dental practices, I actually use this tool in order to carry out the mock inspection. Once I've carried it out, I will print out the report. I share it with the practice owner or the practice manager, and I put all those action plans in place, and I delegate all the action to the individual staff members working alongside with the practice manager. And then we come back and revisit to see if all those actions have taken place. Okay, so this is a very good tool, a very, very good tool. I would highly recommend that if you are signed up to the AIOM system, you use this tool on a monthly or even on an annual or a quarterly basis to keep up to date with all your CQC compliance paperwork. Okay, I'm not going to ask any questions because there's 49 of you, so I might get bombarded with questions, but if you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to put it into the chat box and we'll answer all those questions for you. So this is how you use the mock inspection tool in order to carry out inspections. Now, some practices or some clients of ours, they also use this tool to do a due diligence as well. So they go out to the site and they carry out a due diligence visit of that site using this tool. So again, this tool can be used for a lot of different purposes as well. Okay. So I'm now going to go back to my presentation and just finish off. So I've already showed you the demonstration of the AIOM system and how you can use the mock inspection tool. So top tips: ensure your policies are customized to your practice protocol and specification. Ensure all your actions are actioned from a risk assessment. So there are two risk assessments that we usually carry out externally, which is fire risk assessment and Legionella. When your fire risk assessment report comes back, it's a massive report and there's all these actions right at the bottom, which no manager ever goes through. Maybe some of you, but every time I go out to inspect a site, I always see there's about 3 or 4 action plans on there. They are very minor action plans, but you do need to make sure that you do action those action plans as well, okay? So whether those action plans are on an audit, on a log, or a risk assessment, wherever they are, you need to provide evidence to the CQC that you're keeping up to date with them. Ensure that your site is clean and tidy. So I've already touched about that. Make sure you have a professional cleaner come in one night before to do a deep clean before you have a CQC inspection. Okay. Ensure the sign has appropriate signages in place. Now, with the signages, a lot of the practice owners now are making beautiful luxury high-end practices and they don't want a single sign on the wall. The one sign I will highly recommend that you do definitely put on the wall is your hand washing signages, okay? Your hand washing signages need to go on top of every single hand washing sink. In terms of the other signage, one night before, please just stick them on. I know that the practice owners don't like them, but at least for the purpose of CQC inspections, stick them where they are required to go. So in the decon room, your dirty sign, your clean sign, they do like to see signages. CQC would love to see signages on their walls. Now, obviously, in your normal day-to-day running, you can have a folder in the surgery where you can print all the signs and you can keep them in the folder. But on the day of inspection, make sure that the signages are where they are required to go. Ensure all staff are confident in answering questions. So what we mean is the CQC will pick up at least a nurse and they will take them into the decontamination area and tell them to run through the decontamination process. So make sure that the nurses are fully aware of the decontamination process. They're also aware of the key terminology such as what is the Mental Capacity Act, okay? So hopefully you guys all know what the Mental Capacity Act is and how you would put it into process within your dental practice. Have patient feedback ready. So patient feedback and staff feedback. A lot of the time we're concentrating on patient feedback, but remember, well-led key line of inquiry talks about leadership and management. Make sure you get a staff feedback form completed by all your staff as well before you have a CQC inspection, and you can share that with the inspector on the day as well in order to get, brownie points. Delegate tasks. Now, I know people say, Saba, we don't have time to deal with compliance. It's so overwhelming. Sometimes we end up jumping into surgery. Sometimes we're doing nursing. Sometimes we have to deal with marketing. We've got calls. I just don't know how to deal with compliance. It looks so overwhelming. The good news is you can delegate tasks. So as I just showed you guys on the AIOM system, how you can use the mock inspection tool to carry out a mock inspection and how you can delegate some of the action to your team members, I will highly recommend do that on your day-to-day basis, okay? Do delegate tasks out to your nurses. If you've got like a trainee nurse, I know you might say, oh, we're short of staff, so who do I delegate out to? So maybe you can train like a receptionist or another team member who can, or like a nominated individual. So if you're the registered manager or somebody else is the nominated individual, you can ask them for help as well. Make sure you've got delegated roles when you are recruiting team members. If you're recruiting a nurse, make sure you say to them, you are the nurse / cross-infection lead, because then very easily you can delegate them some tasks which are related to cross-infection, okay? Without having to come back to you and say, well, that wasn't on my job description, so why should I be doing this? Have everything in a digital format. So I can't emphasize this point enough that please start going digital in your practices. I know there's some people who love paper. I love paper. I've got a digital diary. I've still got a normal diary where I always write what I do every single day. But with the CQC and with the compliance paperwork, a lot of the time when we are having an inspection and we've got folders, we get very nervous and there's lots of things to do. And what tends to happen is when you open the policy folder and the inspector goes, right, can I have a look at your Mental Capacity Act policy? Somebody's taken it out and you didn't even know about it. Last minute things end up happening. So this is a good thing with the digital. If you've got everything digital, all streamlined, organized, it will make your life very, very easy. And as I keep on saying, the new CQC assessment framework, it is all digital. You would be required to upload digital evidence on the CQC new platform. Okay, so this is one of my main points. Key breaches. So why or what are some of the key breaches that dental practices fail on? Regulation 11 talks about need to consent. Consent forms. Again, I would like to emphasize consent forms are very, very, very important. So you need to make sure you have signed consent form from the patient and they are being uploaded onto the patient records. CQC will randomly select patients and they would want to see the consent forms, the treatment plan forms, the medical history. So this is one of the key breaches that I see a lot of practices fail on, is need for consent. Safe care and treatment, having up-to-date risk assessments. The amount of time I try to convince managers or practice owners, you do need fire risk assessment. It has to be done by an external person unless your manager is qualified or skilled enough to carry out a fire risk assessment, then it's absolutely fine. So make sure your audits and risk assessments are done correctly. A lot of people think it's a tick box exercise. Again, I'm just warning you now, if you are ticking the boxes and not putting any comments, not putting any action plans, CQC will pick that up and they will throw that back to you and say, well, let me go and check why everything is just yes, yes, yes. So they will look at that deeply. Good governance is another area where practices fail on. So not having a quality assurance system in place, not having effective auditing system in place as well. There's some audits that are mandatory and some are recommended. With the AIOM system, it clearly tells you what are your mandatory audits and what are the recommended. A lot of the time I go into practices and they have carried out all the recommended audits, but they haven't even touched the mandatory audits, so they don't even know what the mandatory audits are. Okay, so very important that you do all the mandatory stuff before you go on to the recommended. Regulation 18, which is staffing. So making sure that staff have the adequate training, you have all the certificates for the training as well. They have all the skills and knowledge that is required to make sure that you are leading a safe, well-led, effective, caring service. Okay, so these are the key breaches. And that's all about CQC inspection, some tips and tricks for CQC inspection, how to carry out, why to carry out mock inspection, why to go digital as well. So this webinar is hosted by myself, which is Saba. I'm part of the Smart Dental Compliance and Management team. We have our AIOM system where we've got compliance, CPD, HR, stock management, all under one roof. I'm just going to show you quickly this slideshow. Okay, and what our system does is everything is all streamlined on there. Our mission statement is 90% of the dental practice managers hate managing compliance and struggle to keep up to date with changing guidelines and legislations. At Smart Dental Compliance and Training, we have created a software which is user-friendly, streamlined, and provides automated notifications for changing guidelines. It has an interactive dashboard which will allow managers to keep on top of their compliance activities, team training, staff scheduling, and stock control. And obviously the mock inspection tool, which I've just gone through with you guys. We're constantly adding new features to our AIOM system to keep up to date with how to make a manager's life really easy when it comes to managing compliance activities as well. What makes us different to all the other systems is we allow a manager to have an overall control of compliance, CPD, HR, and rota scheduling and stock management all under one roof. We are also launching lab management by the end of next month, which will allow you to keep on track of all your lab work. So as I said, always adding new things. We are the only software that has an app. So you can do every single thing. You can even do this mock inspection, guys, through the app. You don't have to log onto the computer. If you've got iPads in your surgery, you could use the iPads as well. Okay. AIOM is created and based on client feedbacks. We actively get our clients' feedback on how to improve the system. So if you are our client and on the webinar today, please make sure you do give us feedback of how we are doing in terms of our system and what features we can add in order to make your life a lot more easy. We provide competitive pricing and offer 5-star customer service. We try our best to give you highest quality of care, or just, to make sure you can reach us on, we've got a chat box, we've got our help center, you can email us, you can call me directly, which a lot of you do, or WhatsApp me as well if you have got any questions. Our clients, so we've currently got over 300 dental practices, 4,950 users using our system. So we are in the market and we are growing super fast. Comparison chart, I think there's lots of compliance systems out there, but we are one of the most competitive ones. And this is just a comparison chart of all the other compliance systems compared to us and what you get with the system compared to all the other systems. And that brings me to an end. If you are really interested in having a demo with us, you can give us a call on 0800 689 1061 or visit our website to book a demo. And as I mentioned, you know, all the mock inspection tool and all the other features are present on our AIOM system, which managers can use. Thank you so much for coming to this webinar today. I'm so overwhelmed with all the people who have joined and never expected so many people to join. So thank you very much. We have got another webinar next month. We will send out all the details of the next webinar. Again, it's a very exciting webinar that will be coming out next month. If there's any question you guys have, if you would like any additional training on our compliance system or how it works, or any of our other services, you can always reach out to us on email or give us a call. And if you have any questions about mock inspections, or if you need any help in order to carry out a mock inspection in your practice, please do feel free to reach us. Okay, so thank you very much for coming today, and I shall see you in the next webinar. This webinar is recorded, guys, and we're going to send it out to everyone. So those of you who have missed it or you want to go back to it again, we have recorded it and we will be sending it out to you guys. All right. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.